The dimensional fabric above Metropolis screamed. Not metaphorically, the air itself shrieked as reality tore open like flesh under claws, and what bled through wasn't light or void, but something that made every instinct in Clark Kent's Kryptonian biology recoil in primal warning. He was halfway through his morning coffee at the Daily Planet when the emergency alert lit up every screen in the building. When Lois grabbed his arm and he was already moving toward the window, already seeing the impossible. A wound in the sky, bleeding green fire, and something darker than shadow. Superman arrived at Ground Zero 17 seconds after the rift opened, fast enough to see the edges of reality still convulsing, slow enough to witness what stepped through. Not stepped. Emerged, like something clawing out of its own grave, trailing wisps of flame and the psychic stench of violence so ancient and absolute that even Metropolis's afternoon sun seemed to dim in revulsion. The figure stood 7 feet tall in armor that looked grown rather than forged. All brutal angles and green-lit seams that pulsed like radioactive veins. A helmet locked in a permanent snarl, weapons bristling from every hard point, a massive double-barreled shotgun, blade attachments, shoulder-mounted systems Clark's vision couldn't fully analyze because the technology operated on principles that shouldn't exist outside theoretical physics departments. But it was the feeling radiating from the armored warrior that made Superman's jaw tighten. This wasn't a villain, wasn't a conqueror or invader in the traditional sense. This was something older. Something that had been killing for so long it had forgotten what peace felt like. The warrior's helmet swept across Metropolis's skyline with mechanical precision, servos whirring almost inaudibly, and then locked onto Superman with the kind of focus that Clark had only seen in one other being, Doomsday, seconds before their first collision. "I'm Superman," Clark said, voice calm, hands open and visible. "You're in Metropolis. Whatever happened, whatever brought you here, we can..." The warrior moved, not with super speed, with something worse, absolute, practiced efficiency. The shotgun came up, barrels glowing with energy signatures that made Clark's X-ray vision flinch away, and fired. Superman crossed his arms in front of his chest on pure instinct. The blast hit like a meteor made of hate, slamming him backward through 3 buildings before he arrested his momentum, bricks and steel raining around him as office workers screamed and scattered. He'd been shot before. Missiles, kryptonite bullets, Darkseid's Omega beams. This was different. This hurt. "Civilians!" Superman shouted, already moving again, already putting himself between the warrior and the terrified crowds. "There are innocent people." The warrior reloaded with emotion so practiced it was prayer, and Clark saw something in that mechanical efficiency that made his chest tighten with an emotion he rarely felt. Uncertainty. This being wasn't angry, wasn't cruel or sadistic like Mongol or amused like Lex when his plans worked. This being was simply doing its job. The shotgun fired again. Superman caught the blast on his chest, felt the Praetor's suit technology tear at his invulnerability in ways that made his Kryptonian cellular structure actually register damage. Not much. Not yet. But enough to know this could escalate into something Metropolis couldn't survive. "I don't want to fight you," Clark said, heat vision flickering in his eyes as warning. "Stand down." The warrior's response was to holster the shotgun and draw a blade of pure green energy that hummed with the kind of power that made the air itself recoil. Clark's super hearing picked up something else then. Electromagnetic signals bouncing off the armor, and behind those, faint but unmistakable, a heartbeat. Human, elevated, but human. There was a person in that armor. Someone who'd been fighting for so long they'd become the war itself. "Please," Superman tried one more time, because hope was what he did, what he was, even when facing down something that radiated violence like stars radiate light. "Let me help you," the warrior charged. And for the first time in years, Superman had to actively brace for impact. The collision shattered windows for 6 blocks. The Slayer, because that's what he was, what every instinct in Clark's pattern recognition said this being had to be, drove an armored knee into Superman's ribs with enough force to crater the street beneath them. Clark grabbed the warrior's arms, felt technology and strength that actually required effort to restrain, and they went airborne in a tangle of Kryptonian muscle and Argent-powered fury. Buildings blurred past. The warrior headbutted Superman's face, and Clark actually felt his nose break before healing instantly. He returned with a measured punch, measured because full strength would have leveled the district, and the Praetor's suit absorbed it, redistributed it, adapted to it. They crashed through a parking garage, emerged on the far side, and the warrior deployed some kind of wrist-mounted blade that actually pierced Superman's suit and drew blood. Kryptonian blood, red and impossible and real. If you want to see more characters enter different universes, Clark thought absurdly. The thought derailing as the warrior's helmet cracked into his jaw again. Hit that subscribe button and drop the name of a character and the universe you'd want to see them in down in the comments below. Hope shines brightest in the darkest night. The thought vanished as the Slayer activated something on his shoulder mount and a plasma weapon charged with apocalyptic intent. Above them, invisible to both warriors locked in their brutal dance, a boom tube opened just long enough for Red Eyes to observe with satisfaction. On Apocalypse, Darkseid smiled. The plasma weapon discharged with a sound that shattered every window in a 12-block radius. Superman moved faster than sound, grabbed the Slayer's arm, and redirected the blast skyward, where it detonated against the upper atmosphere in a green fire mushroom cloud that would have satellites scrambling and governments demanding answers within minutes. Enough! Superman's voice carried the weight of command that had stopped wars. But the Slayer twisted in his grip with inhuman flexibility, brought the super shotgun around one-handed, and fired point-blank into Clark's chest. This time, Superman felt ribs crack, felt his invulnerability actually strain under the Argent Energy's assault. He released the Slayer on reflex, and the armored warrior didn't retreat, didn't strategize or monologue or do any of the things villains did. He simply reloaded and attacked again, a chain gun spinning up from his armor's weapon wheel with mechanical precision. Bullets that glowed with hellfire energy stitched across Superman's chest, each impact like being punched by Doomsday in miniature. And Clark made a decision he hated making. He stopped holding back quite so much. The speed made the world go silent. Superman closed the distance before the Slayer could track the movement, delivered an uppercut that sent the armored figure rocketing into the stratosphere. Clark followed, heat vision lancing out to destroy the chain gun before it could fire again. And they collided at 10,000 feet with force that created a sonic boom felt in 3 states. The Slayer deployed something, a grappling hook that latched onto Superman's cape and reeled him in close enough for a weapon Clark had somehow missed. A shoulder-mounted flamethrower that bathed the Man of Steel in heat that actually registered as hot against his Kryptonian biology. They tumbled through clouds, trading blows that would have killed gods. The Slayer's combat efficiency was terrifying. Every movement economical, every weapon deployment tactical, every strike aimed at vulnerable points that most beings didn't even know Superman had. This wasn't someone who'd trained in combat. This was someone who'd lived in it so long they'd become an instrument of pure violence. But Clark had fought Darkseid, had gone toe-to-toe with Doomsday and survived. had held black holes closed through sheer will. He was Earth's protector, its symbol of hope, and he would not let this battle destroy the city he loved. Superman caught the Slayer's next punch, absorbed the impact, and drove both of them down through the cloud layer toward the docks where civilian casualties would be minimal. They hit the harbor water at terminal velocity, creating a tidal wave that emergency systems would barely contain, and continued fighting underwater where the Slayer's armor apparently functioned perfectly without air supply. The super shotgun fired again, the blast creating a temporary spherical void in the water from pure concussive force. Superman pushed through it, grabbed the Slayer by the chest plate, and flew them both toward the empty industrial district at speeds that turned the world into a blur of light and sound. They crashed through an abandoned warehouse, and the Slayer deployed something that made Clark's enhanced hearing scream in warning. A rocket launcher. Fired at point-blank range, the explosive smart enough to track even Kryptonian speed. Superman caught the rocket, crushed it before detonation. The Slayer was already firing another, then another, a barrage that forced Clark backward, forced him to actually defend instead of attack. And somewhere in the back of his mind, a thought crystallized. This warrior had fought beings more powerful than himself before, had learned to survive through sheer skill and absolutely ruthless tactics. The Slayer's armor flickered, some kind of dash system that closed distance faster than human reflexes should allow. And suddenly, Clark had an energy blade piercing through his shoulder, argent power burning against Kryptonian cellular structure in ways that made his vision white out for a fraction of a second. He backhanded the Slayer hard enough to send him through a concrete support column. The warrior rolled to his feet without pause, switched to a weapon that looked like it had been torn from a demon's corpse and repurposed into a plasma rifle, and opened fire with sustained beams that actually drove Superman backwards step by step. "Why are you doing this?" Clark shouted over the weapon's discharge, genuinely trying to understand. "What did I do?" The Slayer's only response was to charge again, and Clark finally understood with terrible clarity. This being wasn't capable of stopping, wasn't designed to negotiate or reason or show mercy. The person in that armor had been forged in fires that made even Superman's origin story look gentle, had been shaped into a weapon so absolute, the conversation was a language they'd forgotten. But Clark hadn't, and wouldn't. He met the Slayer's charge with measured force, caught the energy blade on his forearm where invulnerability was thickest, and spoke with every ounce of sincerity in his Kryptonian soul. "I'm not your enemy." The Slayer headbutted him again, and Superman felt his vision actually blur. Above them, invisible drones recorded every second with technology decades beyond Earth's capabilities. In the watchtower, alarms were already screaming. In Gotham, Batman was already moving. And in the House of Mystery, John Constantine suddenly sat bolt upright in his chair, whiskey forgotten, sensing something that made even Hell's most cynical magician whisper two words with genuine fear. "Oh, bollocks." The Watchtower's emergency protocols had been designed to handle planetary-scale threats. Dark-side invasions, white Martian armadas, reality-warping crisis events. Batman had personally coded 17 separate response matrices for situations ranging from Kryptonian corruption to Speed Force catastrophes. None of them included unknown armored combatant matching Superman blow for blow. Visual analysis complete. Cyborg's voice echoed through the command center as the main screen displayed the ongoing battle in brutal clarity. Armor composition unknown. Energy signatures reading as Victor. That can't be right. What is it? Wonder Woman stood at parade rest, but her hand had already drifted toward the God-Killer's sword strapped to her back. On screen, Superman took another plasma blast to the chest and visibly staggered. The energy powering that armor? Its reading is hellborn. Not metaphorically, actual signatures matching Trigon's dimensional frequency, but refined, weaponized, like someone took hell itself and turned it into ammunition. Batman's cowl turned fractionally toward the tactical display. Superman's biometrics. Elevated heart rate, minor cellular damage. Bruce, whatever that warrior's using, it's actually hurting him. Not much, but consistently. The Flash, Barry Allen, appeared in a crackle of lightning, immediately moving to the console. I can be there and... No. Batman's command stopped him mid-sentence. We don't know what we're dealing with. Throwing more heroes at an unknown combatant could escalate this beyond containment. Beyond containment? Diana's voice carried the weight of 3,000 years of warrior experience. Batman, Superman is fighting someone who can trade blows with him. If we don't intervene, we intervene intelligently. Bruce's fingers flew across the console, pulling up satellite feeds, electromagnetic spectrum analysis, temporal displacement readings. This warrior appeared through a dimensional rift, unscheduled, undetected by our early warning systems. Either our technology failed, or someone with access to our detection grids deliberately masked the breach. Cyborg finished. You're thinking Darkseid. Batman's jaw tightened beneath the cowl. Pattern recognition suggests new god involvement. The energy signatures are adjacent to boom tube technology. Victor, scan Apocalypse approach vectors. Barry, I need you to... Another alarm cut through the discussion, this one deeper, more ominous. Magic surge detected. Satana's voice crackled through the comm system, and Barry could hear genuine concern beneath her usual confidence. Batman, I'm registering a mystical event that's making every ward in the Watchtower scream. Whatever that warrior is, he's touched by prophecy, old prophecy, the kind that predates human civilization. Explain. Bruce was already pulling up mystical threat assessments. I can't. Not from here. But Constantine just contacted me, and he never contacts me unless the world's ending. He says he needs to reach the warrior immediately, and he's using language I haven't heard since we stopped that demon uprising in Prague. Bruce, he called the armored fighter the Hellwalker. On screen, the Slayer deployed the BFG 9000. Everyone hold positions, Batman commanded, watching as the massive weapon charged with energy that made the Watchtower's sensors actually fritz. Diana, you're with me. We're going to... The weapon fired. Superman saw it coming. His enhanced perception stretched the microsecond into slow motion and made a choice. He could dodge. Let the blast hit downtown Metropolis, where evacuations were still in progress. Or he could do what he always did. He could hope his invulnerability was enough. The BFG blast hit Superman like the birth of a star. Green fire that wasn't fire, energy that targeted living tissue with demonic intelligence, power that had been designed specifically to obliterate beings that thought themselves gods. It washed over the Man of Steel in waves of apocalyptic force. And for the first time in years, Clark Kent actually screamed. Not in pain, in defiance. He stood in the center of the blast, cape disintegrating, suit charring, skin actually blistering and healing and blistering again. And he stood because that's what Superman did. He endured. He hoped. He refused to fall. The energy dissipated, and Clark stood smoking in a crater of molten concrete, breathing hard, blood trickling from his nose and ears, uniform torn, but standing. The Slayer tilted his helmet fractionally, calculating, reassessing. Then he drew the crucible. The energy blade ignited with power that made reality flinch. 7 feet of solidified argent fury that had killed Titan-class demons, that had pierced through Hell's greatest champions, that radiated purpose so absolute it was practically religious. Superman's heat vision flickered to life. Twin beams of concentrated solar energy that could melt through anything Earth's science could manufacture. They stared at each other across 50 yards of devastated industrial district, both bloodied, both unbroken, both absolutely unwilling to yield. The Slayer had fought for eons in hell itself. Superman had stood against gods and monsters and never compromised his values. This was the unstoppable force. This was the immovable object. And somewhere in Gotham, Batman was already in the Batwing, Wonder Woman beside him, both racing toward Metropolis at maximum speed, while Barry Allen coordinated evacuations and Cyborg tried desperately to establish communication with either combatant. 30 seconds to arrival, Bruce said, voice flat with controlled urgency. Diana, if we can't stop this, then we witness the death of hope or the death of hell's greatest weapon. Diana finished quietly. And either outcome dooms us all. On screen, Superman and the Doomslayer charged simultaneously. The collision would be visible from space. Apocalypse hung in space like a wound in reality itself. All fire pits and despair given architectural form. In the deepest throne room, where even parademons feared to tread without summons, Darkseid watched the Earth with eyes that held the extinction of galaxies. The Kryptonian bleeds, Desaad observed from his position at the technological array, fingers dancing across controls that monitored a dozen dimensional frequencies simultaneously. And the warrior from the Hell dimension adapts to each attack. Your manipulation succeeded beyond expectation, Lord Darkseid. Manipulation suggests effort. Darkseid's voice was the grinding of tectonic plates, the death of stars made audible. I merely opened a door between dimensions that should never have touched. The warrior's obsession and the Kryptonian's heroism did the rest. The screens displayed Superman and the Doomslayer locked in combat so intense it was warping local gravity. The Crucible met heat vision in an explosion that vaporized everything within a 100-yard radius. Both warriors emerged from the blast, still fighting, still adapting, still refusing to yield. The prophecy speaks of the Hellwalker. Desaad continued, his voice carrying the careful neutrality of one who'd survived centuries in Darkseid's service. The one who walks between life and death, who cannot be corrupted by hell itself, combined with Kryptonian power, is a threat. Darkseid's Omega effect flickered in his eyes, which is precisely why they must destroy each other now before either realizes what I've done. The Slayer's weapons are powered by absorbed demonic essence. And what do you think lingers in Metropolis, Desaad? What residue remains from every demon who has ever walked Earth? The scientist's eyes widened fractionally. The atmospheric readings. You've been seeding Metropolis with trace hell energy for months. To the Slayer's armor, Superman's location reads as demonic. Darkseid's smile would have made gods weep. The blessed warrior sees only a target radiating the power he was forged to destroy. And the Kryptonian sees only an aggressor threatening his city. Perfect symmetry. Perfect manipulation. On another screen, the Batwing approached Metropolis at maximum velocity. The detective comes, Desaad noted. With the Amazon, should we let them? Darkseid waved one massive hand dismissively. The Batman will deduce my involvement eventually. He always does. But by then, one or both warriors will be weakened beyond recovery. And when I arrive to assist Earth against this interdimensional threat, his eyes flared with Omega energy. The Justice League will have no choice but to accept my aid, my terms, my presence in their precious watchtower. And the anti-life equation progresses. The warrior's hell dimension contains fragments of it. I sensed them when I tore open the portal. Emotional components I've been seeking for millennia. Rage, retribution, righteous fury without mercy. If I can capture the Slayer after he's exhausted himself against Superman. Darkseid leaned forward on his throne. I will finally have the key to making the universe kneel. Below them, in the magma pits where failed experiments were disposed of, something stirred. Something that wore red skin and horns and had been watching Darkseid's schemes with growing concern. Trigon, Demon Lord and father to Raven, had sensed the Hellwalker's arrival the moment the portal opened, had felt the warrior's presence like a knife against his throat. And now he understood with terrible clarity. Darkseid had pulled through the one being in any dimension that actually frightened Hell's nobility. The warrior who had killed his way through dimensions, who had stood before the Dark Lord himself and emerged victorious, who was blessed by something older than demons, older than gods, older than the concept of evil itself. The Doomslayer didn't fear Hell. Hell feared him. And if Darkseid's manipulations continued, if the Slayer actually absorbed enough demonic essence from his battle with Superman, Trigon made a decision, one he'd never thought he'd make, one that violated every principle of demonic hierarchy and dimensional non-interference. He reached out to his daughter. In Metropolis, the crucible sliced through Superman's already damaged suit and carved a line across his chest that actually bled. Not a scratch, not superficial damage. Real blood from a real wound that took 2 full seconds to heal, instead of instantly. Clark staggered backward, heat vision firing on instinct, carving molten trenches in the ground as the Slayer dodged with precision that suggested he'd fought heat-based attacks before. The warrior deployed a rocket launcher, fired a salvo that Superman had to actively intercept, explosions cascading across his invulnerability like sledgehammers against steel. "Please," Clark gasped, voice hoarse from screaming during the BFG blast. "Whatever you think I am." The Slayer switched to a plasma rifle and opened fire. Each blast calibrated to strike the exact spots where previous damage had weakened Clark's cellular structure. This wasn't random violence. This was assassination. Clinical, perfect, terrifying. Superman caught one plasma bolt, crushed it in his fist, felt the Argent energy trying to burrow into his Kryptonian biology like acid. He threw a heat vision blast at the Slayer's weapon systems, melted the plasma rifle's barrel, bought himself 3 seconds as the warrior switched to another armament. 3 seconds. Enough for supersonic hearing to catch the Batwing's approach. Enough for hope to surge in his chest. Enough for... The Slayer deployed the super shotgun, both barrels glowing, and fired a concentrated blast that hit Superman in the chest and actually knocked him off his feet. He crashed into an already damaged building, concrete and steel raining down, civilian warning systems screaming evacuations. And Clark realized, with horrifying clarity, he was losing. Not quickly, not definitively, but incrementally, methodically, the Slayer was wearing him down. With the patience of something that had fought for millennia and understood that even gods tire eventually. The Batwing screamed overhead, and Batman's voice cut through the chaos via emergency broadcast. "Both of you stand down. This is a setup. Darkseid is..." The Slayer shot the Batwing out of the sky, not to kill. Clark's vision tracked the trajectory, saw Wonder Woman catch Batman mid-air, saw them both land safely. But the message was clear. No interference. This battle would end in blood. Superman pulled himself from the rubble, cape gone, suit in tatters, bleeding from a dozen wounds that were healing but slower now. Fatigue accumulating, solar energy depleting. The Slayer advanced with the crucible ignited, a figure of pure vengeance walking through smoke and destruction. And above them both, boom tubes began opening. Not one, dozens. Parademons shrieked as they poured through dimensional rifts, but not attacking, observing, recording. And behind them, in the largest boom tube, a shadow that made even Superman's Kryptonian courage falter. Darkseid had come to Earth. The House of Mystery existed in London and Liverpool and sometimes Los Angeles, but always wherever John Constantine needed it most. Tonight it manifested in a Gotham alley 3 blocks from where Raven meditated in Titan's Tower. Because the universe had a sick sense of humor, and Constantine had stopped questioning it decades ago. He burst through the door, trailing cigarette smoke and desperation, magical wards flaring around him like dying stars. Raven was already there, waiting in the foyer with eyes that glowed white with her father's power barely contained. "You felt it too," Constantine said, not a question. "My father is terrified." Raven's voice carried harmonics that made the house's architecture groan. "I've never felt him terrified before. He's reaching out, John, trying to warn me about the warrior." "Of course he is, because that armored bastard fighting Superman." Constantine pulled a flask from his coat, took a long drink, grimaced. "That's the bloody Doomslayer, the Hellwalker, the Unchained Predator. He's got more names than I've got bad decisions, and every single one of them makes demons piss themselves." Zatanna materialized through a portal, Dr. Fate floating beside her in full helmet manifestation. The Lord of Order's voice resonated with cosmic authority. "The warrior is known to us, across dimensions, across realities. The prophecy speaks of one who cannot fall, who walks through hell as other men walk through gardens, who was blessed by the seraphim to be eternal damnation's executioner." English fate. Constantine lit another cigarette off the dying embers of the first. The short version for those of us without omniscient helmets. "He kills demons," Zatanna said flatly. "Not banishes, not binds, kills, permanently. His weapons run on argent energy, processed demonic essence. The more demons he kills, the stronger he becomes. And John..." She pulled up a scrying bowl that showed Superman and the Slayer locked in combat. Darkseid seeded Metropolis with hell energy signatures. To the Slayer's armor, Superman reads as demonic. Bloody hell. Constantine watched Superman take another crucible strike, saw Kryptonian blood splash across concrete. So, the universe's angriest warrior thinks the universe's best hero is a demon, and they're beating each other to death while Darkseid watches. That's actually brilliant. Evil, but brilliant. "My father says the Slayer killed the Dark Lord." Raven's voice was hollow. "Not a Dark Lord. The Dark Lord. The primordial evil that existed before hell had architecture, before demons had hierarchy. The Slayer stood before it and won." Fate's helmet turned toward her. "Trigon fears him. Everyone in hell fears him. He's the one thing demons tell their children about to make them behave. Be good, or the Slayer will come." Except it's not a story. It's history. And now he's here. And Darkseid just gave him Superman as a target. Constantine's mind raced through options, each worse, then the last. "We need to get close enough to break the energy signature. Show the Slayer that Superman's not demonic. But getting between those two right now is suicide. Then we don't get between them." Zatanna's hands glowed with backward speech power. "We rewrite the energy signatures remotely. Make the real demonic presence visible." Darkseid's parademons, Raven realized. They're hovering just outside the battle, watching, recording. But they're actual demon-class entities, if we amplify their hell signatures, the Slayer's armor will recalculate threat priority. Fate's voice carried grim satisfaction. But the spell requires anchoring. Someone must be physically present in Metropolis to channel the magic. They all looked at Constantine. Of course it's me. He stubbed out his cigarette. Why wouldn't it be me? Just once I'd like to save the world from somewhere comfortable, with proper whiskey. John. Zatanna's voice softened. If he sees you as a threat, then Superman gets a breather and maybe doesn't die today. Constantine shrugged into his coat. Besides, I've talked my way out of worse. Probably. Maybe. Look, just get me there and have the spell ready. Raven's eyes flickered. I can teleport you. But John, the Slayer doesn't negotiate, doesn't hesitate. If he decides you're an enemy, then I die doing something heroic for once in my miserable life. Won't that be a nice change? He turned toward the door, paused. Oh, and if this goes sideways, tell Batman he was right. About everything. He'll know what it means. The portal opened, swirling with darkness and desperation. Constantine stepped through into hell. He emerged in Metropolis 3 blocks from ground zero, close enough to feel the shockwaves from each collision, far enough to maybe have 3 seconds of survival. The air tasted like ozone and blood. Buildings groaned with structural damage. And somewhere overhead, parademons circled like vultures waiting for gods to die. Constantine pulled out a piece of chalk. Blessed by the specter, stolen from a Vatican vault, expensive as hell in every sense, and began drawing a circle on the shattered pavement. His hands shook, not from fear, from the sheer magical pressure radiating from the battle. Superman's hope was so bright, it hurt to be near. The Slayer's divine purpose was so absolute, it made Constantine's cynical soul actually ache with something like shame. Right then, he muttered, pulling out components. Demon's blood, check. Angel feathers, check. Something deeply stupid that'll probably kill me. Double check. Zatanna's voice crackled through the magical link in his ear. Circles anchored. I'm ready on my end. Fate's channeling order energy to amplify the spell. Ravens containing the backlash. John, you need to activate the circle exactly when. An explosion 3 blocks away turned night into day. Superman and the Slayer crashed through an office building, still fighting, still bleeding, still absolutely refusing to quit. Now would be good, Constantine shouted. Wait for my mark. If we cast too early, the Slayer's armor will adapt and filter it out. If we cast too late, Superman screamed, not in pain, in defiance. The Slayer had pinned him against a wall and was methodically deploying every weapon in his arsenal at point-blank range. Shotgun, plasma rifle, rocket launcher, each blast calculated to overwhelm even Kryptonian healing. Zatanna. Hold. A boom tube opened directly above Constantine. Parademons shrieked as they descended, claws extended, and John realized with perfect clarity. Darkseid had noticed him, had understood what the magical circle meant. Zatanna! Now! Constantine slammed his hands onto the circle and spoke words in Enochian that made his throat bleed. Power exploded outward, rewriting energy signatures, amplifying demonic frequencies, showing the truth that Darkseid had hidden. The parademons lit up like beacons. Their hell energy signatures blazed in frequencies the Slayer's armor couldn't ignore. Pure demon-class entities, hundreds of them, all around the battlefield, and Superman's signature flickered, changed, showed what he truly was. Not demon, but opposite. Hope given flesh, light incarnate. The antithesis of everything hell represented. The Doomslayer's helmet snapped toward Constantine, then toward the parademons, then back to Superman, who was bleeding and exhausted and very clearly not demonic anymore. For 3 seconds, nothing happened. Then the Slayer holstered his weapons, released Superman, and turned toward the parademons with the kind of focus that made Constantine's survival instincts scream, "Run, run, run." "Oh, bollocks," Constantine whispered. The Slayer deployed the BFG 9000 and opened fire on Darkseid's army. The BFG blast turned 30 parademons into ash before they could scream. Green fire spread like plague through their formation, argent energy seeking demonic tissue with malevolent intelligence. And the Slayer was already moving, already switching to the super shotgun, already doing what he'd been doing for eons, killing hell. Superman collapsed against the crater wall, breathing hard, blood dripping from a dozen wounds that were finally healing now that the assault had stopped. His vision swam, solar energy depleted, but he forced himself to focus, to understand what was happening. The armored warrior who'd nearly killed him was now slaughtering parademons with efficiency that made Superman's Kryptonian combat training look amateur. No wasted movement, no hesitation. Each shot perfectly placed, each glory kill. And Clark's enhanced perception caught them in horrifying detail. Executed with brutal precision that restored the warrior's ammunition through some kind of energy absorption. "What in Rao's name?" Clark whispered. "He's doing his job." Batman's voice crackled through the comm, still somehow functioning in Clark's damaged suit. Constantine broke the energy signature manipulation. The Slayer can see what you really are now, and more importantly, what they are. On a nearby rooftop, Batman and Wonder Woman watched through tactical binoculars as the Slayer carved through Darkseid's forces like death given form. Diana's warrior instincts were screaming appreciation, even as her diplomatic training was horrified. "He's blessed," she said quietly. "I can feel it. Divine purpose channeled through mortal vessel. Like the Amazons, but darker, older. He doesn't fight for glory or honor or even justice. He fights to kill demons." Batman's tactical analysis continued, even while watching something that defied analysis. And he's been doing it long enough that it's not combat anymore. It's breathing. Constantine was right. This is the Hellwalker, the prophecy made manifest. The Slayer deployed the Crucible and bisected 3 parademons in a single motion, switched to plasma rifle, and burned through a dozen more. A parademon Alpha tried to tackle him from behind. The Slayer caught it mid-air, slammed it into the ground, and executed a glory kill so brutal that even Batman looked away. "Bruce." Diana's voice carried warrior respect. "If he decides we're enemies, then we'd better make sure he doesn't." Batman was already moving, descending from the rooftop via grapnel. "Clark, can you stand?" Superman pulled himself upright, testing his healing factor. Still functional, still recovering, still alive, which meant he could still help. "I'm good. What's the plan?" "We show the Slayer we're on his side, then we deal with the actual threat." Above them, the largest boom tube pulsed with apocalyptic intent. Darkseid's voice echoed across Metropolis, not with technology, but with pure Omega power. "Impressive, Hellwalker. You have ruined a perfectly adequate manipulation. But you have also exhausted yourself against the Kryptonian. Now you face a true god." The Slayer's response was to reload the BFG. "That's not going to work." Constantine's voice crackled through magical communication, the magician limping toward Superman's position. "The BFG kills demons. Darkseid's not demonic. He's a new god. Different frequency entirely. The Slayer's arsenal is perfectly calibrated for hell, but against Apocalypse technology, he'll be outmatched. Superman forced himself into the air, every muscle screaming protest. Then we even the odds. Clark, you can barely fly. Batman's tactical assessment was brutal but accurate. Your cellular structure is still recovering from Argent energy exposure. If you engage Darkseid now, then I engage Darkseid now. Superman's voice carried the steel that had defied tyrants and monsters. He manipulated us into nearly killing each other, used my city as a battlefield, threatened innocent lives. That ends today. Diana landed beside Batman, God-killer drawn. The Kryptonian is right. Darkseid must answer for this manipulation. And the warrior? She watched the Slayer dispatch the last Parademon with casual brutality. The warrior might not understand, but he fights evil. That makes him our ally. The Slayer turned toward them, helmet tracking each hero with mechanical precision. His armor was scored and damaged from the battle with Superman, Argent energy systems running low, but his posture radiated readiness, willingness, the absolute certainty that he would fight whatever needed fighting until his body failed. Batman stepped forward slowly, hands visible and empty. We're not your enemies. The being in that portal, Darkseid, he's the one who brought you here. He manipulated you into fighting Superman by making him appear demonic to your armor's sensors. The Slayer's helmet tilted fractionally, calculating. The servos whirred so quietly, even Batman's enhanced hearing barely caught them. You killed demons, Wonder Woman continued, her voice carrying Amazon authority. I understand that purpose. I've been blessed by gods as well, given divine mission. But Darkseid isn't demonic. He's something else, something worse. And he needs to be stopped. For long seconds, the Slayer didn't move. Then his helmet turned toward Superman, hovering exhausted but upright, blood still drying on his torn suit. Clark met the Slayer's gaze through that featureless helmet and did what he always did. He hoped. I don't know your story. Don't know what you've been through or how long you've been fighting. But I know you're not evil. You attacked me because you thought I was a threat. I get that. And now, he gestured toward the boom tube where Darkseid waited. Now we have a real threat to stop. Together. The Slayer stared at Superman for 3 more seconds. Then he turned toward Darkseid's boom tube, deployed the crucible, and charged. He's going to get himself killed, Constantine shouted, already drawing magical components. Darkseid will... Superman was already moving, solar energy reserves dangerously low, but enough for one more fight. Wonder Woman took flight beside him, lasso glowing with truth power. Batman fired his grapnel toward higher ground for tactical advantage. And the Doomslayer, blessed by Seraphim and forged in Hell's fires, ran toward the god of Apocalypse with the same absolute certainty he'd shown in every battle across every dimension. He would not stop, would not retreat, would not yield. Because that's what the Slayer did. Darkseid's Omega beams lanced from the boom tube, twin rays of annihilation that could erase beings from existence, that could rewrite reality itself, that had killed gods and new gods and entities that claimed to be beyond death. The Slayer dodged, not with super speed or teleportation or divine intervention, with pure combat experience, with the knowledge earned from fighting beings more powerful than himself for so long that predicting God-killing attacks had become instinct. The Omega beams carved molten trenches where he'd been a microsecond before. The Slayer deployed his dash system, closed the distance to the boom tube's edge, and threw a frag grenade directly into the portal. The explosion echoed across dimensional frequencies. And from Apocalypse, Darkseid's voice carried genuine surprise. Interesting. Superman reached the Slayer's position, Diana beside him. Batman coordinated from tactical advantage, already analyzing Darkseid's attack patterns. Constantine and Zatanna preparing magical support, and somewhere in Titan's tower, Raven was channeling every ounce of her father's power to help shield Earth from what was about to happen. The boom tube expanded, and Darkseid stepped through onto Earth. Darkseid stood 12 feet tall in armor that had seen the death of universes. His eyes held the Omega effect, the power to erase, rewrite, or torment anything in existence. He was the Lord of Apocalypse, the God of evil, the tyrant who'd nearly conquered reality itself a dozen times over. He looked at the Doomslayer and actually smiled. "I have conquered worlds that fielded armies of billions," Darkseid said, voice resonating across the dimensional frequencies. "I have broken gods. I have made the universe itself kneel. And you, armored warrior from a hell dimension, I opened as casually as a child opens a door. You think to challenge me?" The Slayer's response was to fire the BFG 9000. The blast hit Darkseid's center mass with enough energy to vaporize a city block. Green fire washed over the new god, argent energy seeking biological tissue to corrupt and destroy. And for a moment, the hope surged in Superman's chest that maybe, just maybe, this would be enough. Then the flames cleared, and Darkseid stood unchanged. Argent energy, processed demonic essence. Darkseid brushed ash from his armor with casual disdain. Effective against Hell's hierarchy, useless against new god physiology. We are not demons, Hellwalker. We are their architects, the beings who taught Hell what suffering meant. The Slayer threw the empty BFG aside, drew the crucible, and charged. "Now!" Batman's voice cut through tactical comms, and suddenly the battlefield erupted with coordinated assault. Superman hit Darkseid from above, heat vision burning at maximum intensity, depleting his already low solar reserves, but buying the Slayer precious seconds. Wonder Woman attacked from the left, God Killer's sword meeting Darkseid's armor in a clash that shattered windows for blocks. The Slayer came in low, Crucible aimed for vulnerable points that didn't exist on New God anatomy, but might exist on anything with joints. Darkseid caught Superman's fist with one hand, Wonder Woman's blade with the other, and kicked the Slayer hard enough to send him crashing through a building. Is this the best Earth offers? Darkseid's Omega beams lanced toward Superman, who barely twisted aside. Felt the reality-warping energy sear past his shoulder, close enough to make his Kryptonian cells scream in warning. A weakened Kryptonian, an Amazon playing at godhood, and a warrior who doesn't understand the battle he's entered? The Slayer emerged from the rubble, switched to rocket launcher, and fired a barrage that forced even Darkseid to actually defend. The new god swatted rockets from the air with casual precision, but Batman had counted the microsecond delay, calculated the distraction, and used it. 3 explosive batarangs hit Darkseid's face simultaneously, not damaging, but blinding for a fraction of a second. Wonder Woman's lasso wrapped around the tyrant's arm. "In Hera's name, I bind you too." Darkseid grabbed the lasso, yanked Diana off her feet, and slammed her into the ground hard enough to crater concrete. Superman caught her before the second impact, took an Omega beam to the chest that actually pierced his invulnerability and burned through his shoulder, and screamed through gritted teeth as he kept flying, kept fighting, kept hoping. The Slayer deployed his plasma rifle, targeting Darkseid's eyes with precision that suggested he'd fought gods before. The new god's Omega beams met plasma bolts in midair, each collision creating miniature supernovas, and Darkseid actually took a step backward. "You have potential, Hellwalker." Darkseid's voice carried respect like poison. Join me. Turn your gifts toward true conquest. Hell is nothing compared to what I could show you. Worlds, dimensions, entire realities that need cleansing. I could point you toward demons that would make your hell priests look like children playing at evil. The Slayer's response was to switch to the super shotgun and fire both barrels. Predictable. Darkseid caught the blast with one hand, argent energy washing over his palm harmlessly. But admirable. You cannot be corrupted, cannot be turned, cannot be reasoned with. His Omega effect flared. Then you can be destroyed. The twin beams lanced out faster than light, faster than thought, unavoidable and absolute. Superman threw himself between the Slayer and annihilation. The Omega beams hit the Man of Steel full force. Clark felt reality itself try to erase him, felt the fundamental equation of his existence being rewritten toward non-existence, felt power that had killed gods trying to unmake everything he was. And he stood. Because that's what Superman did. He endured. He hoped. He stood between innocent people and destruction, even when destruction wore the face of a god. Impressive. Darkseid's voice carried genuine curiosity. You survived the Omega effect through pure will, through refusal to accept erasure. Tell me, Kryptonian, how long can you endure what unmade the old gods? Long enough. Clark's voice was hoarse, body smoking, cellular structure literally fighting reality rewriting. For him to reload. Behind Superman, the Doomslayer had drawn a weapon none of them had seen before. Larger than the BFG, more ornate, covered in inscriptions that made Constantine's magical senses scream across the tactical link. That's the Unmaker. The magician's voice carried awe and terror. A weapon from Hell's armory that predates the Crucible. It fires concentrated soul energy. If that hits Darkseid, the Slayer pulled the trigger. The blast didn't travel, didn't cross distance like normal projectiles. It simply existed inside Darkseid, a spike of weaponized suffering that had ended Titan-class demons, that carried the accumulated agony of billions of damned souls. Darkseid staggered, actually staggered. Impossible. The word was fury given voice. That weapon should not function outside Hell's dimensional frequency. The souls it contains are demons. Batman's voice cut through, tactical. Analysis complete. The Slayer's been killing demons for eons, absorbing their essence through his armor. That weapon fires the collected souls of every demon he's ever killed. And Darkseid? The Dark Knight's satisfaction was audible. You've been manipulating Hell dimensions for months. Your energy signature reads as adjacent to demonic, close enough for the Unmaker to recognize. Wonder Woman drove the God Killer into Darkseid's back while he was distracted. Not deep. New God physiology was too dense, but enough to draw blood, enough to prove gods could bleed. Superman hit him with everything left in his depleted reserves. Heat vision at maximum, freeze breath immediately after. Strength that moved planets channeled into fists that had ended doomsday. Every ounce of hope and determination and refusal to let evil win. The Slayer fired the Unmaker again. Darkseid roared, Omega effect flaring wildly. And for the first time in centuries, the god of apocalypse faced something he hadn't calculated. Genuine, coordinated resistance from beings who refused to be manipulated or conquered or broken. Enough! Darkseid's voice shook reality. Boom tubes opened by the dozens. Parademons poured through, furies descended. And somewhere behind the army, Darkseid was retreating, not fleeing, but recognizing that this battle couldn't be won today, not against Earth's defenders and Hell's greatest weapon fighting together. This isn't over, Kryptonian. The Omega effect pulsed. I have shown you what I can do. Next time, I will not be so restrained. And next time, his eyes fixed on the Doomslayer. I will find a way to turn you into the weapon you were meant to be, under my command. The boom tubes collapsed. Darkseid was gone. The parademons retreated. And in the shattered ruins of Metropolis's industrial district, 5 defenders stood bleeding and exhausted and alive. Superman collapsed to one knee, solar energy completely depleted. Wonder Woman caught him, her own strength nearly spent. Batman limped from his tactical position, cowl cracked, ribs probably broken. Constantine just sat down in the rubble and started drinking. The Doomslayer stood in the center of it all, Unmaker still smoking, armor damaged but functional, and slowly, very slowly, turned towards Superman. The 2 warriors who'd nearly killed each other stared at each other across 10 yards of devastated earth. Then the Slayer holstered his weapon, turned, and started walking toward the dimensional rift that was slowly closing in the sky, his way home, still barely accessible. "Wait," Superman called out, voice weak but sincere. "You don't have to leave. We could use someone like you. Someone who can't be corrupted, who fights without compromise." The Slayer paused, didn't turn around. Batman stepped forward. "He's a weapon, Clark. A perfect weapon aimed at evil. That's not the same as a hero. Isn't it?" Diana's voice carried Amazon wisdom. "He fights evil, defends the innocent by destroying threats. He cannot be reasoned with by tyrants or tempted by power. That sounds like heroism to me." The Slayer's helmet turned fractionally. Acknowledgement. Not agreement, but acknowledgement. Then he walked into the dimensional rift and vanished. The portal sealed behind him with finality. The silence after the Slayer's departure was broken only by distant sirens and the groan of damaged buildings settling. Superman stood in the crater where he'd nearly died, looking at the sky where the rift had closed, and felt something he rarely experienced: inadequacy. "He saved us," Clark said quietly. "After I attacked him, after we fought like warriors doing what they thought was right." Diana was binding a wound on her arm with practiced efficiency, Amazon healing already accelerating the process. He sensed demonic energy near you and responded as his blessing dictates. You saw a threat to your city and defended it. Neither of you were wrong. We were both manipulated. Batman was analyzing residual energy signatures from the boom tubes, tactical mind already 3 steps ahead. Darkseid played us perfectly. If Constantine hadn't broken the signature masking, he didn't finish the sentence. Didn't need to. Constantine limped over, flask empty, looking decades older than he had an hour ago. The Slayer's gone back to his hell, to his eternal war. That's what he does. What he is. Can't stop fighting demons any more than Superman can stop helping people or Batman can stop being a paranoid bastard. Watch it, Constantine. Truth hurts, mate. The magician pulled out a cigarette with shaking hands. But here's the thing that's keeping me up tonight. Darkseid opened that portal, which means he knows how to do it again. And more importantly, he lit the cigarette, took a deep drag. He knows the Slayer exists now, knows what he can do. Darkseid doesn't make the same mistake twice. He'll try to weaponize him. Superman's voice was hollow. Find a way to control or redirect the Slayer against his enemies. Or find a way to eliminate him before attempting another Earth invasion. Batman was already calculating contingencies. A warrior who can't be corrupted and carries weapons that hurt even new gods? That's a threat Darkseid will prioritize. Above them, the watchtower's transport beam activated. Cyborg materialized with medical supplies, followed by Flash carrying emergency equipment. Barry took one look at the devastation and whistled low. So, rough day at the office? Understatement. Diana accepted a medical kit from Cyborg, began treating Superman's injuries despite his protests. We face something today that changes calculations. A warrior blessed by forces we don't fully understand, carrying weapons that operate on principles adjacent to divine mandate. The Hellwalker. Cyborg pulled up holographic data he'd been compiling during the battle. I got readings on everything. His armor's technology is centuries beyond anything I've seen, and I'm partially integrated with Motherbox tech. The energy efficiency alone is impossible by our physics. And the weapons. He shook his head. That BFG fired concentrated Argent energy in quantities that should have destabilized local reality. But it was stable, controlled, like the weapon understood what it was doing. Because it does. Constantine's voice was grim. Every piece of the Slayer's arsenal is sentient on some level. Forged in Hell's deepest armories, blessed by the Seraphim, designed specifically for the eternal war. They're not just tools, they're extensions of his divine purpose. Superman listened while Diana worked on his shoulder. The Omega beam burned, slowly healing but leaving a scar that would probably be permanent. New God energy didn't fade like normal wounds. His mind kept returning to those moments of combat, the Slayer's absolute efficiency, and the terrible recognition. If Constantine hadn't intervened, if the battle had continued, one of them would have died. Maybe both. We need protocols. Batman's tactical voice cut through Superman's dark thoughts. If the Slayer returns, voluntarily or otherwise, we need to be able to distinguish friend from threat immediately. Constantine, can you create magical signatures that would mark us as non-demonic to his armor's sensors? Maybe. Probably. The magic would need to be powerful enough to override Argent energy detection systems, which... Constantine grimaced. Yeah, I can do it. Won't be pleasant. We'll require each of you to carry a piece of consecrated material blessed by actual divine forces. Superman might have issues with the angel feather requirement. I'll manage. Clark stood carefully, testing his healing. But we're assuming he comes back. That portal closed. He's in his dimension, we're in ours. Darkseid crossed dimensions. Diana's warrior logic was irrefutable. The Slayer crossed dimensions. The walls between realities are thinner than we thought. And now that the breach has occurred once. She looked at Batman. You're thinking crisis event. I'm thinking crisis preparation. Bruce's cowl was damaged enough to show part of his jaw, blood dried on his chin. Every time dimensions intersect, reality destabilizes. The Slayer's arrival may have been Darkseid's manipulation, but the ability to open that portal suggests the multiverse barriers are weakening. Again. Oh, bloody brilliant. Constantine lit another cigarette off the first. Because we haven't had enough reality-breaking crisis events. What are we on now? Infinite crisis? Final crisis? Dark Knight's metal? I've lost count. We investigate. Superman's voice carried the determination that had inspired generations. Figure out how Darkseid opened the portal. Make sure he can't do it again. And if the Slayer does return... He looked at the spot where the warrior had vanished. We make sure he knows we're allies. Clark. Batman's voice was gentle by his standards. That warrior isn't looking for allies. He's looking for demons to kill. And the moment he runs out of demons, or the moment he perceives any of us as corrupted, the implication hung in the air like smoke. Then we make sure we never give him reason to. Diana sheathed the God Killer. The Slayer is incorruptible. That makes him unpredictable by villain standards, but perfectly predictable by ours. He fights evil. We fight evil. As long as we remain on the side of good, we have nothing to fear from him. And if Darkseid manages to manipulate him again? Cyborg's question was quiet, but necessary. If he finds a way to make us look like demons? Silence, because they all knew the answer. They'd have to fight him again. And next time, Superman wouldn't be at full strength from the start. We prepare. Batman was already walking toward the Batwing, favoring his left side. Contingencies, countermeasures, but also outreach protocols. If the Slayer returns, we need to be able to communicate instantly, show him we're not threats. He paused. Constantine, you mentioned prophecy earlier, about the Hellwalker. What does it say about his purpose beyond killing demons? The magician's face went carefully neutral. You sure you want to know? John. Superman's voice was patient but firm. Fine. The prophecy, and there's several versions across different hell dimensions, which should tell you something about how terrified demons are of this bloke. Says the Slayer was blessed by the Seraphim to be eternal, to fight until hell itself is empty, until every demon across every dimension is dead. Constantine met their eyes. But here's the fun bit. Some versions say, until hell is empty. Others say, until evil is destroyed. Those aren't the same thing. Diana's warrior instinct saw the implication immediately. No, they're bloody not. If his blessing is to destroy evil. Constantine spread his hands. Then the Slayer's divine mandate might not end with demons, might extend to anything evil. Which in a universe where Superman could become injustice's tyrant, where Batman's one bad day from Red Hood's methods, where Wonder Woman's killed in the name of justice. He didn't finish. The silence was heavier now. So we make sure we stay heroes. Clark's voice was simple, absolute, the kind of moral certainty that had defined Superman for generations. We don't become the evil he's programmed to destroy. We remain what we've always been: hope, justice, truth. And if the Slayer returns, we prove through our actions that Earth doesn't need his particular brand of salvation. And if he doesn't return? Barry's question was almost hopeful. Then Darkseid will find another way to weaponize hell dimensions against us. Batman was at the Batwing now, initiating repairs. Today was a test, a proof of concept. The next attack will be more calculated, more efficient. Above them, the sun was setting over Metropolis. Emergency crews were moving through the district, searching for survivors in the wreckage of the battle. News helicopters circled at a respectful distance. The world would want answers about the armored figure who'd fought Superman to a standstill. And somewhere, in a hell dimension that existed parallel to DC's reality, the Doomslayer was already back at his eternal work, already killing demons, already being what he'd been blessed to be, a weapon that would never stop, never compromise, never show mercy to evil. Diana watched the sunset and spoke quietly. He's what we could become if we lost our humanity, if we forgot why we fight and focused only on fighting itself. Pure purpose without compassion, absolute justice without mercy. He's also what stops hell from spilling into every reality. Constantine's voice was softer now, tired. Every demon he kills is one that won't tear through dimensions. Every titan he slays is one that won't devour inhabited worlds. He's the bulwark, the eternal guardian. And he does it alone, in hell forever. Superman looked at his friends, battered, bleeding, but alive, because one unstoppable force had met another and both had chosen, eventually, to stop. Then we honor what he does by being better, by showing that justice doesn't have to be brutal, that hope can coexist with strength, that heroes can fight evil without becoming what they fight. Inspiring speech. Batman's voice carried the dry edge that meant approval. Now let's go save what's left of Metropolis and prepare for Darkseid's inevitable return. They dispersed into the sunset, heroes doing what heroes did, and none of them noticed the small dimensional fluctuation that occurred 3 blocks away. A brief shimmer, a momentary weakness in reality's fabric. Something was watching Earth now. Something old, something that had taken note of the warrior who'd appeared and disappeared. Something that saw opportunity in the Slayer's existence. In Apocalypse, Darkseid was already planning. In Hell, demons whispered the Hellwalker's name with terror. And on Earth, the Justice League began preparing for a threat they didn't fully understand, but couldn't afford to ignore. The Doomslayer had entered their universe, and nothing would ever be quite the same. 3 hours later, in the Watchtower's medical bay, Superman floated in a yellow sun radiation chamber, while his cellular structure slowly repaired the accumulated damage. The Omega Beam scar still burned. The Argent energy exposure had created micro tears in his Kryptonian biology that would take days to fully heal. But he was alive. Earth was safe. For now. Batman stood outside the chamber, cowl pulled back, Bruce Wayne's face showing the exhaustion Alfred would have scolded him for. Diana sat nearby, her own wounds treated, armor being repaired by Watchtower systems. The rest of the League had dispersed to handle immediate threats. Flash coordinating rescue operations in Metropolis, Cyborg interfacing with global networks to control the narrative. Green Lantern checking with the Guardians about dimensional breach protocols. I've been analyzing the battle footage. Bruce's voice was clinical, but Clark heard the concern underneath. You held back initially. Standard protocol for unknown combatants. The Slayer didn't. He came at you with full force from the first exchange. Because he thought I was demonic. Clark's voice echoed slightly in the chamber. To his armor, I was just another target. Another demon to destroy. There was no malice in it, Bruce. No cruelty. Just purpose. That's what concerns me. Bruce pulled up holographic data. A warrior with that level of skill, that much firepower, operating on programming that can be manipulated. Darkseid proved he can make that armor identify targets incorrectly. What happens if he refines the technique? Makes it more subtle. We could have the Slayer show up thinking the entire League is demonic. Then we'd have to stop him. Diana's voice was heavy with Warrior's pragmatism. And based on today's performance, that would cost lives. He fought Superman to mutual exhaustion. If he came for all of us, thinking we were corrupted, we'd lose. Bruce stated it as fact. Not immediately, not easily, but eventually. Because the Slayer doesn't stop, doesn't tire in the conventional sense. His armor recycles energy from kills, his weapons recharge through demonic essence absorption, and his blessing apparently makes him functionally immortal. We'd be fighting attrition warfare against something designed for eternal combat. There has to be a way to communicate with him. Clark watched his wounds slowly close, golden light accelerating Kryptonian healing. He's not mindless, not a machine. There's a person in that armor making choices. We saw that when he stopped fighting me after Constantine broke the signature. A person who's been fighting demons for eons. Diana's millennia of Amazon experience colored her analysis. I've seen warriors consumed by war, seen soldiers who fought so long they forgot peace. The Slayer's blessing might keep him physically alive forever, but mentally? Spiritually? How much of his humanity remains after that many centuries of violence? The question hung in the sterile air. Constantine's researching the prophecies. Bruce changed the subject with tactical efficiency. Zatanna and Dr. Fate are consulting with magical authorities across dimensions. If we can understand the exact parameters of the Slayer's blessing, we might be able to predict his actions, or at least establish communication protocols. And if we can't, Clark asked, then we prepare for the worst while hoping for the best. Bruce's smile was humorless. Standard protocol. An alarm pulsed through the watchtower, not emergency level, but significant. Cyborg's voice echoed through the comm system. We've got a situation. Trigon is requesting communication. And before you ask, yes, that Trigon, Raven's father, the demon lord who's tried to enslave Earth multiple times. Wonderful. Diana was already moving. Just what we needed. More dimensional threats. They reconvened in the Watchtower's main chamber where a magical containment circle, courtesy of Constantine and Zatanna's preparation, held a projection of Trigon. The demon lord appeared as a massive figure wreathed in flame, 4 eyes burning with malevolent intelligence. Justice League. Trigon's voice was surprisingly civil. I come with information, not conquest. Today's events have concerned me. The Slayer. Batman stated it as fact. The Hellwalker. Trigon's projection actually showed something like respect. You call him the Doom Slayer. Hell knows him by many names, but all of them translate to the same thing, ending. He is the ending of demons, the termination of our kind, the final death. You're afraid of him. Wonder Woman's observation made Trigon's flames flicker with what might have been embarrassment. All of hell fears him, with good reason. The Demon Lord's honesty was startling. Your universe has demons. We operate under specific rules, specific hierarchies. We can be bound, banished, sometimes killed if one has sufficient power. But the Slayer? He kills permanently. Demons he destroys don't reform, don't resurrect, don't escape to other dimensions. They simply end forever. And you're here to warn us? Superman had joined them, yellow sun radiation having done enough healing for mobility. Or to ask us to protect you. Trigon's laugh was like avalanches. Neither. I'm here to offer alliance, temporary, limited, but necessary. The Demon Lord's 4 eyes fixed on Batman with disturbing focus. Darkseid opened the portal that brought the Slayer here, but he didn't open it alone. He had help from my dimension, from demons stupid enough to think they could manipulate the Lord of Apocalypse for advantage. Let me guess. Constantine had arrived through magical portal, Zatanna beside him. Those demons are now regretting their life choices. Those demons are now permanently dead. Trigon's satisfaction was evident. The Slayer found them immediately upon returning to Hell. But their actions have consequences. The portal was opened using a combination of New God technology and Hell Dimension magic. That combination creates ripples, weaknesses in dimensional barriers, meaning the barrier between our universe and the Slayer's hell is now compromised. Batman was already calculating implications. How compromised? Enough that random breaches could occur, enough that powerful beings on either side could potentially force passages open, enough that... Trigon paused, flames dimming slightly. Enough that the Slayer could return, intentionally or accidentally. Why would he return intentionally? Diana's tactical mind saw angles. His purpose is to kill demons in his hell. We're not his concern. Unless he senses demonic presence here. Trigon's voice was grim. And Earth has demons, Amazon. My presence the magical community's dealings with hell dimensions, ancient pacts and bindings. To the Slayer's senses, Earth radiates demonic signatures like a beacon. The only reason he didn't immediately recognize that during his battle is because Darkseid's manipulation was masking it. But if he returns with clearer perception, the implication made even Superman's stomach tighten. He'd see Earth as infested. Constantine lit a cigarette despite Watchtower regulations. Would start doing what he does best, purging demons, which would mean killing every magic user who's ever made a deal, every demon bound to service, every creature with hell-adjacent nature. Trigon's 4 eyes glowed, including my daughter. Silence. Raven. Superman's voice was hollow. He'd see Raven as demonic, as a target. Half-demon, Trigon corrected. But yes, to the Slayer's blessing, demonic heritage is enough. He wouldn't distinguish between my daughter's heroism and a lesser demon's malevolence. He would simply see demon and respond accordingly. Then, we protect her. Diana's voice was absolute. The Titans protect her. We protect her. If the Slayer comes for Raven, he goes through us. Which leads to more fighting. Batman's tactical analysis was brutal. More manipulation opportunities for Darkseid, more dimensional instability, and potentially the death of one of our own heroes at the hands of a blessed warrior who genuinely believes he's fulfilling divine purpose. So what do you propose? Superman looked at Trigon's projection with barely controlled fury. You helped create this situation. What's your solution? I offer temporary truce, limited cooperation. Trigon's flames burned brighter. I will work with your Constantine to stabilize the dimensional barriers, seal the weaknesses, make it harder for Darkseid to open portals or for the Slayer to accidentally breach through. In exchange, you don't interfere with my efforts to protect my daughter. And you prepare magical defenses specifically designed to show the Slayer that Raven is not a threat. You're asking us to trust a demon lord who's tried to conquer Earth multiple times. Batman's voice was flat. I'm asking you to recognize mutual interest. Trigon's honesty was almost refreshing. I don't want the Slayer in this dimension any more than you do. The difference is, I'm willing to help fix the problem I partially created. Are you? They looked at each other. Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Constantine. The weight of impossible choices pressing down. Trust a demon lord. Or risk dimensional breaches that could bring Hell's greatest weapon down on Earth's heroes. We accept. Superman's voice carried command authority. But Trigon, if this is a trick, the Slayer will kill me first. The Demon Lord's flames flickered with genuine fear. He's already hunting the demons who helped Darkseid. I'm only safe because I didn't participate directly. But if he finds evidence of my involvement... Trigon didn't finish. The projection faded. They stood in the watchtower looking at each other with the weight of new understanding. The Doomslayer wasn't just a warrior. He was a walking apocalypse for anything Hell touched. And Earth, with its magic and ancient pacts and heroes with demonic connections, was a target waiting to happen. We need to talk to Raven. Diana was already moving. Prepare her. She deserves to know. And we need to accelerate Constantine's protection spells. Batman was coordinating logistics. Every League member with Hell-adjacent abilities needs magical signatures that prove they're not threats. Etrigan, Deadman, anyone who's made deals, everyone. And we need to find a way to communicate with the Slayer if he returns. Superman's voice was determined. Show him that Earth's heroes aren't his enemies, that some demons can choose good. That last part might be impossible. Constantine's cynicism was heavy. His blessing is absolute. Demons are evil. Heroes are good. That kind of black and white morality doesn't leave room for complexity, for redemption, for hope. Superman interrupted. Which means we show him what hope looks like, what mercy looks like, what choosing good despite your nature looks like. We show him Earth's heroes, and we make him understand. And if he doesn't? Barry had returned from rescue operations, catching the end of the conversation. Superman looked at his friends, his fellow heroes, and felt the weight of leadership pressing down. Then we do what we always do. We stand between innocent people and destruction, even if destruction wears armor and carries divine blessing. They dispersed to their tasks, heroes preparing for threats both immediate and theoretical. Metropolis needed rebuilding. Dimensional barriers needed reinforcement. Magical protection spells needed crafting. And somewhere in a hell dimension, the Doomslayer continued his eternal war, unaware that his brief visit to Earth had fundamentally altered another universe's calculations about safety, threats, and the dangerous line between justice and vengeance. 2 weeks after the dimensional breach, Metropolis was rebuilding. The scars would take months to fully heal, physical and psychological. But humanity was resilient. Hope persisted. And Superman stood on the watchtower observation deck, watching his city glow with lights and life and determination. Behind him, Batman approached with silent footsteps that Clark heard anyway. Constantine finished the protection spells. Bruce's voice was tired but satisfied. Every League member with Hell-adjacent abilities now carries magical signatures that should register as non-demonic to Argent energy sensors, should being the operative word. You tested them? Clark didn't turn from the view. Extensively. Against demon summoning protocols, Hellfire energy detection systems, everything we could simulate. The signatures hold. Bruce moved to stand beside him. But we're operating on theory. We won't know if they work until the Slayer actually scans someone with them. If he comes back. When? Batman's correction was certain. Trigon's cooperation stabilized the immediate breaches, but the dimensional barriers are permanently weakened. Random fluctuations could open portals, Darkseid could force another breach, or... Bruce paused. The Slayer could simply finish with his hell and look for new demons to hunt. Superman finally turned. You think he'd come here deliberately? I think a warrior blessed to destroy evil who spent eons killing demons might eventually ask, what's next? Bruce's tactical analysis was grimmer than usual. Earth has demons, has hell-touched entities, has heroes who've made questionable choices. From a certain perspective, we're exactly the kind of situation that would require his intervention. From a narrow perspective, Clark's voice carried steel. From a perspective that doesn't account for nuance, for redemption, for the fact that beings can choose good despite their nature. That's not justice. That's extermination. Which is why we prepared. Diana approached from the corridor, carrying a tablet displaying mystical calculations. Dr. Fate has been working with the Spectre, reluctantly on both sides, to create a direct warning system. If the Slayer breaches dimensional barriers, we'll know immediately. Have minutes to prepare instead of seconds. Minutes to do what? Clark's question was heavy with implication. We can't fight him, Diana. Today proved that. I was at full strength and he nearly killed me. If he comes back targeting multiple heroes simultaneously, then we don't fight. Diana's Amazon warrior logic was surprisingly peaceful. We demonstrate. We show him through actions that Earth's heroes are worth preserving. That demon blood doesn't automatically mean demonic behavior. You're talking about Etrigan. Batman had already calculated who would be most at risk. And Raven, and Constantine with all his hell packs, and Deadman's spiritual nature, and anyone who's ever channeled hell-adjacent magic for heroic purposes. Diana's list was longer than any of them wanted to acknowledge. We have a lot of heroes who would register as demonic to the Slayer's senses. We need to prove they're heroes despite that, not monsters because of it. Below them, in Titan's Tower, Raven meditated with new urgency. Her father's warning had shaken her more than she'd admit. The knowledge that a blessed warrior existed who would see only her demon blood, not her heroic choices, had created a fear she couldn't quite contain. Beast Boy sat nearby, providing silent support. Starfire had promised protection. Robin was already planning contingencies. But they all knew the truth. If the Doomslayer came for Raven, nothing short of Superman's intervention might stop him. And even that was uncertain. In the House of Mystery, Constantine worked with Zatanna on advanced protection spells while drinking heavily. The magical community had responded to the threat with uncharacteristic unity. Everyone with hell connections suddenly very motivated to prove they were reformed, controlled, or at least not actively evil. The Slayers changed the entire magical landscape. Constantine's observation was bitter. Every demon who's been bound to service on Earth is suddenly terrified. Every magic user who's made deals is reconsidering their life choices. He's been in our universe for one day and already reshaped how we think about demonic interaction. Is that bad? Zatanna asked while inscribing protection circles. It's complicated. On one hand, fewer people making deals with actual demons. Probably good. On the other hand, fear-based compliance isn't the same as genuine moral improvement. Constantine lit another cigarette. And if he comes back, if he starts purging Earth of demonic presence without understanding context, we'll lose heroes. Good people who happen to have demon blood or hell connections. Then we make sure he understands context before he starts purging. And if he doesn't care about context? Zatanna didn't answer, because they both knew the answer. On Apocalypse, Darkseid studied the data from the dimensional breach with satisfaction that would have terrified anyone who understood his planning horizons. The Slayer had proven even more effective than calculated. The warrior's weapons had actually wounded him, slightly, but measurably. That was information. That was leverage. Desaad. The command brought the scientists scurrying. Yes, Lord Darkseid? Begin Project Hellgate. I want complete analysis of how to open portals to the Slayer's Hell dimension. I want to understand the warrior's blessing. And most importantly, Darkseid's Omega effect flared. I want to know how to redirect that blessing, point it at my enemies. Make the Slayer believe the new gods of New Genesis are demonic threats requiring destruction. The deception required would be substantial, but achievable. Darkseid's smile was Apocalypse waiting to happen. The Slayer operates on absolute morality. Demons are evil. Good is clear. If I can manipulate his perception, make him see my enemies as demons and my forces as righteous, I gain the ultimate weapon, a blessed warrior who cannot be corrupted, fighting for my cause because he genuinely believes it's righteous. And if he discovers the manipulation, then I kill him, but not before he's destroyed enough of my enemies to justify the risk. Darkseid turned back to his data. Begin immediately. In the watchtower, alarms suddenly blazed. Dimensional fluctuation. Cyborg's voice was urgent. Small breach opening in Metropolis. Same energy signature as the Slayer's original arrival. Superman was already flying before the sentence finished. Diana grabbed her equipment and followed. Batman was in the Batwing in seconds. The League mobilized with practiced efficiency, every hero knowing this might be the moment that defined their response to an impossible threat. They arrived at the breach point, a Metropolis alley, to find a small portal crackling with unstable energy. Not large enough for the Slayer to fit through, but large enough for something. A weapon crashed through the portal and clattered to the pavement. The super shotgun, damaged, scored with marks that suggested incredible combat. Attached to it, a small device that began projecting a holographic image. The Doomslayer appeared in miniature, helmet locked in place, but his posture somehow communicating urgency. The hologram was crude, clearly jury-rigged from his armor systems, but functional. Heroes of Earth. The voice was filtered through the armor's speakers, but unmistakably human underneath. Deep, exhausted, determined. Darkseid is planning another breach. Larger. He's attempting to redirect my blessing, make me see New Genesis as demonic. I'm transmitting my armor's exact demonic recognition protocols. Use them to prove your heroes are not threats. Protect the half-demon. She fights for good. That matters. The hologram flickered. Behind the Slayer, they could see glimpses of hell. Fire and destruction and demons being systematically destroyed. I cannot cross over again. The dimensional barriers are too unstable. But I'm sending this weapon as proof. The Slayer's helmet turned slightly, as if looking directly at them. Superman, you fight with honor. You endure. That is worthy. A pause. Batman, your preparation saved lives. That is worthy. Another pause. Wonder Woman, you understand war. That is worthy. The hologram was fading, portal closing. Darkseid will come again. When he does, you'll need to be ready. Protect your Earth. Protect your heroes who carry demon blood, but choose good. That choice. The Slayer's voice carried weight that spoke of eons of killing without nuance. That choice is what I couldn't make, what my blessing won't allow. You have freedom I don't. Use it wisely. The portal sealed. The hologram died, and the super shotgun lay on the pavement like a promise and a warning. Superman picked up the weapon carefully. It was warm, covered in marks that told stories of battles beyond imagination. And it represented something profound: acknowledgement. The Doomslayer, a warrior who couldn't show mercy or compromise or understanding, had found a way to help them anyway, had chosen, in his own way, to hope. He sent us his weapon. Diana's voice was quiet with warrior respect, knowing he might need it, knowing it could help us against Darkseid. That's sacrifice, Batman finished. He's in hell fighting without one of his primary weapons because he thought we needed it more. They stood in that alley holding a demon-killing weapon gifted from a blessed warrior and understood with profound clarity. The Doomslayer might not be able to show mercy, but he could recognize it in others, could respect it, could even protect it by removing himself from the equation and sending tools to help those who could do what he couldn't. Choose nuance over absolute justice. Choose hope over extermination. Choose to see the good in beings who carry demon blood. We honor this. Superman's voice was firm with determination. We prove he was right to trust us. We protect Raven and Etrigan and every hero who's made deals with hell but fights for good. We show that Earth's justice is more than simple purging. We show mercy. And when Darkseid comes again, Barry asked, Superman looked at the super shotgun, at the weapon forged in Hell's deepest armories and gifted to Earth's heroes by a warrior who couldn't stop killing but could still hope. Then we use every tool we have, every alliance, every ounce of heroism. And we prove that Earth doesn't need absolute solutions. We need heroes who can see the gray areas and still choose light. They returned to the watchtower, carrying the Slayer's gift. Cyborg immediately began analyzing the demonic recognition protocols transmitted through the weapon systems. Constantine started adapting their protection spells to match. Dr. Fate consulted with mystical authorities about the implications. And across dimensions, in a hell that had learned to fear one name above all others, the Doom Slayer continued his eternal work, one weapon lighter, but knowing that somewhere in another universe, heroes who could show mercy were fighting the good fight. That was enough. It had to be. The super shotgun sat in the watchtower's vault behind containment fields designed by Batman and blessed by Dr. Fate. Not because it was dangerous to them. The Slayer had ensured his weapon wouldn't fire on non-demonic targets, but because it was precious. A gift from a warrior who had nothing to give except the tools of his eternal war. Superman visited it sometimes, in quiet moments between crises, would stand before the containment field and remember those brutal seconds of combat, the feeling of fighting something that couldn't be reasoned with, couldn't be inspired, couldn't be anything except what it was forged to be. And yet, somehow, that warrior had found a way to choose, had sent a warning, had protected heroes he would never meet by giving up a weapon he might desperately need. That was heroism too. Different from Superman's hope, or Batman's preparation, or Wonder Woman's warrior honor. But heroism nonetheless. Raven wore the protective amulet Constantine had crafted using the Slayer's transmitted protocols. It was cold against her skin, a constant reminder that somewhere across dimensional barriers, a blessed warrior existed who would see only her demon blood. But also that Earth's heroes had chosen to protect her anyway, had looked at her father's heritage and seen past it to the hero she'd become. The dimensional barriers remained weakened. Random fluctuations occurred monthly, requiring constant monitoring. The magical community maintained vigilance, every demon-touched entity now carrying protections and hoping they'd never need to test them. Trigon kept his word, surprisingly, reinforcing seals and stabilizing breaches, motivated by pure self-preservation and genuine concern for his daughter. Darkseid's next move was inevitable. They all knew it. Project Hellgate continued on Apocalypse, the Lord of Evil working to weaponize Hell's greatest warrior against his enemies. But now Earth was prepared. Now they understood the threat and had protocols. And they had proof that even a warrior blessed for absolute violence could recognize the value in mercy. Batman updated contingencies weekly. Every League member now carried the protective signatures. Every magical practitioner understood the danger. Every hero who'd ever touched Hell-adjacent power knew they were one-dimensional breach away from facing eternal judgment. But they also knew they weren't alone. The Justice League stood ready, Earth's defenders prepared, and somewhere in Hell, a warrior who couldn't stop killing had found a way to help them anyway. The Doom Slayer would return someday, whether through Darkseid's manipulation, dimensional accident, or his own decision that Earth's demons required purging. That day would come. That confrontation would happen. But when it did, they would be ready. Would show him through actions what words couldn't convey. That demon blood didn't automatically mean evil. The choices mattered more than heritage. That Earth's justice was complex, nuanced, hopeful in ways his blessing couldn't accommodate. They would show him that heroes could be born from darkness and still choose light. And if showing failed, if the Slayer couldn't or wouldn't see past his divine programming, then they would do what they always did: stand between innocent people and destruction. Even if destruction wore blessed armor and carried righteous purpose. Because that was what heroes did. They endured. They hoped. They fought for every life, every soul, every being that chose good, regardless of their nature. Superman stood on the watchtower observation deck, watching Earth turn beneath him, and felt the weight of new understanding. The universe was vast, dimensions infinite. And somewhere across reality's barriers, warriors fought wars that would never end. Some, like the Slayer, were trapped by their blessings into eternal violence. Others, like Earth's heroes, had the freedom to choose mercy. That freedom was precious, worth protecting, worth proving worthy of. The super shotgun hummed quietly in its containment field, Argent energy systems dormant but ready. A reminder that even Hell's greatest weapon could choose to protect rather than destroy. And across dimensions, through barriers weakened but holding, in a hell where demons whispered his name with terror, the Doomslayer continued his eternal war. Alone, uncompromising, absolute, but no longer unknown, no longer dismissed as myth. Earth's heroes knew he existed now, knew what he was capable of, knew the danger and the strange, brutal honor in his purpose. And they would be ready when he returned. Because in a universe of gods and monsters, of demons and angels, of tyrants and heroes, the greatest weapon was still the freedom to choose. To see darkness and choose light. To carry demon blood and choose heroism. To face absolute judgment and prove that mercy was stronger than vengeance. That was Earth's strength. That was what made them worthy. And that was what they would show the Doomslayer when dimensional barriers finally failed and Hell's eternal warrior stepped onto their world again. They would show him hope.